It gives me immense pleasure to welcome all of you to the next season of Stories of Swar. The stories where we talk about self, stories where we talk about transformation, stories where we talk about choices that we make, stories where we take the power back and live the life that we want to. Today, I welcome a guest on the show who I hold very dearly in my heart. She's the force behind making this podcast happen. She's also the force and the brain behind all the beautiful posts and videos that you see on Swayam's social media. Welcome to Neha. I'm so very happy. I can't tell you. We were just discussing before the shoot started that when the season one started, I was talking about you. You were in Boston at that time. You were pursuing your further studies. You were doing an MBA, right? Um, a master's. We'll talk about that a bit later. Neha, I want to talk about how you and I met initially. I was given your reference by somebody that we both know, a common acquaintance. I saw your social media profile, and the first thing that I noticed was the handle that you had. It was called Gratefully Neha. And I thought it is very interesting for somebody, pardon me for saying, as young as you. Not that I want to be age biased, but seeing what you were putting on your personal profile, it made a lot of difference in me even meeting you to talk about, what we can do together. So that's where I want to start with, how did the entire concept of gratitude come into your life at such an early age? I would want to say it again because although I am surrounded by a lot of young souls by the work that I do, I think you would be the youngest at that time. So, how did gratitude enter your life and how was it for you then?
Firstly, thank you so much for having me here. Um, we're talking about gratitude, and that is my ground. So I want to start by saying that I'm so grateful to be having this space and having this conversation today. Um, how did gratitude enter my life? Wow, that's such a good question to start for.
And it continues to stay.
It continues to stay. Yes, yes, still very much is. That is still my handle. Gratefully, Neha, still very much my handle, and I feel like when this major shift happened in my life, and I realized that um, my story can be anything I want it to be, and all these things in my life, all these relationships in my life, all the situations in my life,
Mm.
um, that are my my drawbacks, that I thought at that time were my drawbacks or are holding me back.
Mm.
There's a different way to see them. There is a whole different way of interacting with them and having them in my life. To give you an example, some relationships that you have in uh, that I have in my family, and I always thought they're holding me back. But when I sat with it, I had my own journey. I realized how much they're helping me, letting me be who I really want me to be, and making me give this, or making me have this realization of who Neha really is and who Neha is not.
Mm.
Simple shifts like that in thinking. I happen to come from a great family. Um, with all the lows comes all the highs
Mm.
as well, and I just wanted to focus on the highs and see what I can do with it.
Yeah. That's so beautifully articulated, Neha. With all the ups and downs of our life, along with highs, also the lows that come in. And it's a choice that we make that we want to focus on, on taking the essence of the experience, which is always something positive, which is something, we hold ourselves in gratitude for. And how and when it comes in people's life is different for everybody. So my question is, the time around when you met gratitude, right? Where were you at? What was your catalyst? How was it that you came face to face with this part of again reality which says, yeah, things are not perfect, but I can choose my moments out of it. How did that happen for you?
uh Honestly, Dheera, you make it sound so calming and nice that, yeah, I mean, things happen, and how can I choose? It really wasn't like
Yes.
that. The way you say it, the way I met gratitude was after all the anger, after the release of all the anger, after the release of all the fear as well. So it wasn't. it wasn't very rosy to meet gratitude in that sense. It took me a lot of releasing, crying as well, saying it out loud that I am. I
I
mean,
am angry.
I am angry. There is something in me. There's something stored in my body somewhere that needs to get released for me to even have that calming nervous system and say that, okay, I'm grateful.
Yeah.
I can see it now.
Right.
That vision is there. It's more clear. The blurry lines are out, and me meeting this version of me that I am. 5 years ago, the Neha you would have met, this wasn't me, not at all. I didn't. I don't even. I don't even think that I understood gratitude in a way that I do today. And I've believed that do remember that moment so profound. This was during when I was pursuing my NLP, which is neuro linguistic programming. I'm a practitioner,
Oh, lovely.
and I had a moment there where my trainer, she was taking me through a very profound activity, and it went very well for everyone. This was in partners, and I had my partner right there, and he was going through the activity very smoothly. However, when the tables were turned and I was supposed to do it, I just couldn't get through it. And this was related to your inner child, your relationship with your parents, and something in me just didn't let me. And I remember running to my facilitator in the room, telling her I can't do this. Like, I don't know what's wrong, but something's wrong.
How old were you then?
I was 20,
20.
20, 21, I think, something like that. Pardon me, I'm very bad with remembering
That's
like
absolutely fine,
timelines,
yeah.
but yeah, I this is how I remember it. And uh, the way she handled me also, I still very much remember. Took me to a corner of the room, made me sit, and she took me to a part of me that I didn't even know existed. And I met a Neha that, again, like I said, didn't existed, that I thought didn't existed. And I allowed her to cry. I allowed to say it out loud that, okay, this is a problem. There is a problem. And that is the moment when it got shifted. I remember crying straight for 2 days, sometimes not even understanding why I'm doing it, but I'm doing it. But then I realized there's so much stored inside of me, inside my body, and it's all coming out now. And it's coming in this format. It's coming in the format of first anger, then crying, then hurt, things like that. After I was done releasing, and I'm not saying that I'm done releasing till today as well. I think there's still so much to do, but after releasing all of that is when I started seeing things with the lens of gratitude. Yeah, that's how I see it.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Today, when you talk about that incident, that experience, and those emotions that you encountered of anger, fear, hurt, what does your body tell you right now? How are you feeling when when you're talking about that incident?
Honestly, so proud. I am so proud. Now that you're talking to me about it, it's all coming back to me.
Yeah.
Did I don't think that I've taken enough time to reflect and feel this pride that I'm feeling right now. And I feel so relaxed talking about it. This is not how I would talk. And I mean it in a way that when someone would ask me and I would have this conversation, even with my friends or my NLP trainer that time, it would be with a lot of excitement. Right now, I'm so calm because I know that I've met that version of me, and I know her so well.
Yeah.
I really do know her so well. So I'm relaxed about it. It's normal for me. And it wasn't normal. It's as good as talking about air, as good as talking about anything else in my life, because it's become that normal for me. That's what I feel right now. And I like it's giving me such good feelings, and I wish that this is my wish that as many people as possible can reach that point in their lives where they meet this version of themselves which exists and wants alignment. If that makes sense. Want
Centering to who they are.
Meeting your higher version. Meeting your higher version is how I would say it.
Was this also around this period of time when you discovered NLP, and with that you discovered your inner child, your emotions that probably you had not acknowledged until then? Was it around this time that you also converted into a vegan? Because I remember seeing your videos talking about veganism and making your own almond milk and all of that.
Yeah.
And I do know you come from a Sindhi family, and I don't want to be biased. I do know of a lot of Sindhi families who are vegetarian,
Mhm.
but veganism, how did that happen for you?
Wow. I wonder if both of them are related. Could be. It could be. It's a
Was it
third.
around the same time?
No, it wasn't actually.
Mm,
A year apart, I would say.
mm,
This is again going back to the self. I would prioritize myself. I would prioritize my mental health, prioritize my health, prioritize what I'm consuming, not just when it comes to food,
mm,
but consuming what comes to the conversations that I'm having, the kinds of things that I'm listening to, the kind of things that I'm watching, the kind of people that I'm meeting and being friends with, the kind of clientele that I'm picking up with my company.
mm,
It's very important. And I realized that time I was going through a journey where I needed to protect myself in many ways possible. I think all of these things were my ways of protecting me and showing love for myself, which I hadn't shown all these years of my life, all the 20 years of my life. And these were my ways of showing that, hey, I care. Neha, that I care about
right.
you.
And what made you come to this conclusion that the way to protect my energy and the way to protect myself is to stop having meat? You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do
You
understand.
know, we do different things for the same objective,
Right.
but to be able to choose to eat in a certain manner.
Mm-hmm.
What was your, how did you come to this conclusion basically? That I have to stop eating meat to be able to protect my energy, to
Right.
protect my body.
Correct. So many things. First being that when I think about food, what I feel after consuming a meal,
Mm,
very, very important. And because I was turning into this person who is taking care of herself, who is learning
mm,
to prioritize, who's learning to observe
mm,
consciously that what is working for me and what is not.
mm,
I would observe what I'm feeling after consuming a meal.
mm.
And after consuming a plate full of meat, that wasn't doing it for
That
me.
is so amazing.
I wasn't doing it for me.
I really wanted to understand that because I do know of a lot of people who convert into something just because a community that they come from is not eating meat
Correct.
or they are eating meat. But I
Yeah.
think this is the most beautiful way to be to be in touch with what your body is telling you
Yeah.
after you've had that plate of fruit or after you've had that plate of meat.
Absolutely.
What does your body
Absolutely.
tell you?
And I totally get what you're saying because it started with that. There were years of my life where I would be like, it's wrong, I see it.
Mm,
I can't see it happening, that's why I don't want to eat. But there's something in you that will again pull you back. Like, but I enjoy it so much. Maybe there was a time for it. But later when I consciously decided this is for me, I don't genuinely like I don't know what the world is doing and how they think of it. And of course people have different opinions, but this is what is working for me and I would do what is working for me. And you can imagine my whole family going like,
what is happening?
why are you doing it? Don't do it. So many people coming and walking up to me, don't do it. But I have no idea which force in me helped me through it. It wasn't difficult at all. People do ask me that was it difficult. It wasn't difficult at all. I
Mm,
enjoyed the process. I started making my own meals, started trying my own meals, studying about plant-based food as well, making my own almond milk as well. And I still do. Like I still enjoy the process of it. But it was a very personal choice. This is what is working for me. So all those years of my life, it was working for me, and now it's not anymore. That's why I don't. It's not serving the purpose that it was serving before as well.
and you've never gone back to it.
I've never gone back to it. I've actually never gone back to it. Now that I'm talking to you, I'm realizing never felt the need to
Right.
go back to it.
I'm very curious to ask you this, Neha, that both these two changes in your life, one which is a very soul-based, very intrinsic experience of getting to know yourself in some way through NLP, and second is honoring yourself, honoring your body by choosing the food that your body likes. How much of these two changes are linked to the way you would look at your body? because I remember there were discussions that we've had around your body imaging, how you wanted to lose weight as a young girl. Today, when you think about it in retrospect, do you feel this is how maybe things were interconnected? And when you chose these two aspects of your life, choosing yourself and choosing to eat better, the body image part of it also started to change? Or was it this first and then later?
Everything connected. To me, everything was connected. It's just somehow worked out. I remember so many years of my life trying to lose weight, and then losing weight, and then staying consistent with that weight as well. And I've understood my body type is not like that. My body listens to me. My body listens to what I am thinking, feeling, feeding, everything. It was definitely interconnected. And here is how I have such a good memory of this. All that emotional baggage that I'm telling you that I released and I had the opportunity of releasing during my NLP, or even when I was reading self-help books, I got into that a lot. NLP was, however, only like 2 weekends of like a 2 weekend course. It did huge for me, but still, um, when I released that emotional baggage, that emotional weight, it was way easier to lose my actual body weight.
Lovely.
So, which like there is definitely a connection. It is not one after the other or this first and that second. It was all linked together, and I don't see losing weight the way I used to see it before.
Yeah.
To be very fearful.
Yeah.
I used to be. I know what my intention was during my workouts. I used to dread working out. Hate going to the gym. To hate my trainer that time. Poor guy. I've cursed him so much inside of me. But I just didn't enjoy it because I know that I wasn't doing it with the right mindset,
Yeah.
with the right heart. And now I enjoy my workouts. Like yesterday, I ran on the treadmill for 2 hours without even realizing. It was at a blast. It was like a party for me. To come to this point of my life, it doesn't happen with facts.
Yeah.
You know yourself, you get to know your
Yeah.
body. And it's not with the way it's looking,
Yeah.
it's with the way you're feeling inside your body.
And I feel somewhere, and I talk about this with my fitness trainer also, that I wish when people talk about losing weight or being fit or choosing to be healthy, while we are eating right, while we are going to the gym or we have a trainer, I wish we also talk about how emotions play such a strong part in what we are trying to do with ourselves. And if we are able to release those baggage, like you said,
Yeah.
if you are able to release the baggage of the emotions, how living a healthy life becomes much more, I wouldn't say easier, but it becomes much more joyful,
Yeah.
once you've done that.
Absolutely. No, yeah.
I want to ask you, I want to go back, actually, rewind to 2 years or 3 years back when we met. We were sitting like this, but in my office.
Yeah.
We are sitting in my house right now. And Neha, when I say this, I say this after knowing you for 2, 3 years, right? When you came to meet me, I was literally interviewing you. I was grilling you. I was trying to see, this young girl, what does she have to do? Let me just see how and when I can ask her those questions where she shows a little bit of discomfort. But all throughout our 1 hour of meeting, you were sitting with a very, very graceful calm, And while my questions were very grilling, your answers were very easygoing, very, very flowing, and all of that. And so there are these two Nehas I see in you. There is one part of you which is very bubbly, which is very extrovert, goes out and does things with the kind of energy that you have. There is also another Neha inside of you which is very centered, very controlled. You have those moments sometimes in front of me, sometimes I'm sure you have those moments in your me time.
Right.
As a person who's carrying these two energies with you throughout, how is it for you? How do you balance? How do you use it in your advantage? Or is it always an advantage? Or does it become something lesser than an advantage? What is it for you?
Oh, what a question. Oh God. So much. I have so much going on inside me to even answer that.
But do you resonate with what I asked you?
Absolutely.
There are these two different energies that they see very evidently in you.
I do have them. I do have both of these, Neha.
Is it a struggle to manage both, or
With big time advantage. Like it's my advantage. It's my
tell me how is it
forte.
an advantage?
Uh okay. That's the thing. The bubbly Neha that you're talking about, the Neha that is outgoing and
Hmm.
there, that was my defense mechanism when I was a child.
Interesting.
When I remember as a child, I used to get bullied a lot in school, a lot.
Hmm.
But I would have this strong personality, who's out there, talks her mind as well. Um, didn't have much friends, but I would always be outspoken. I used to play sports. Um, I remember playing football, cricket, everything possible. That would be my defense mechanism. I'm so powerful in talking. I'm so loud and I'm speak my mind. If someone's coming, I know how to answer and what to say, or they might not come
No one will mess with you.
out of the fear of not messing around with me. But then later, when I got in touch with my soft side, I realized that side is, if if not complete, that side was not me. Like it's not the whole of me at least. There's a soft side who's empathetic, who who talks only with love, who sees only with love. Now what has happened is that me being in touch with that side and the one who's fun and outgoing, I'm able to balance it. It helps me in my professional life,
Hmm.
in my personal life as well. I know when to um offer a good calming conversation to a friend who is low, and I know when to have a good time to a friend who's bored, if that makes sense. So it works to my advantage for sure. For example, I also have a great personal relationship with you as a friend, as a person that you just know. But I know when to switch and bring that professional calming side who thinks right, who thinks consciously to offer you my best value when I'm working with you.
Hmm.
And the other side is me just having fun, and sometimes it combines, but it's definitely to my advantage, 100% to my advantage, and I honor both the Nehas. People take me as extrovert, but I think I'm more of an ambivert. I define the word ambivert. I can be very closed at times.
Hmm.
Believe me, before coming over here, I was thinking, oh my god, I have to shoot a podcast today. People are gonna hear this podcast. How is this
Yeah.
gonna happen? And now here I am, feeling very calm and centered, also excited. The inner child is excited. So
Hmm.
it's working hand in hand. The day that you're talking about when I met you, uh, I'm sure the center Neha came out because of the right questions you were asking. You remember it in a way that you were grilling me. I don't remember it like that. You were not grilling me at all. In fact, it was so cool for me to know that someone cares to this level to be asking me, why are you doing what you're doing? No one's ever asked me that.
That's such a beautiful perspective.
No one's ever asked me that. People are like, okay, what can you offer? How much are you gonna ask for? Like, what is your fee? And what are you gonna get in return? Why are you in this work? No one. No one. Absolutely no one. So that question was gold for me. I got to speak my heart out. A lot of reflection in my head that, hey, why am I doing what I'm doing? Why am I here? So that day helped me, in fact. And naturally, the center Neha came out to answer the question as well. A lot of reflection after our meeting as well
Yeah.
for me to think that this is why I'm doing what I'm doing.
I also remember your next immediate post after our meeting with your bag and talking again about
I posted about that. I wrote the fact that someone today asked me
Yeah.
why I am in this work and why is it that I chose to do what I do today. And that is profound. Like that is the kind of people that I want to work with, who care to that level. This says that they're looking for a long term relationship work wise. They're serious about what they're doing, and they respect you because now they know you, because it took the effort of getting to know you. And believe me, ever since, if I'm meeting someone work wise, I don't hesitate asking personal questions. Personal in the sense of getting to know them,
Yeah.
because it's important to know
That
the kind
makes
of
a lot
people.
of difference to the works eventually that you do.
Absolutely.
That again brings me to a question which I have been very intrigued. We've spoken about it, but I do want to ask you here because we're talking about your work. Um, I knew even before you came to meet me that you come from a very affluent family, right? You come from wealth. Your family is in a business which is very well established, and I know that after your education, you had the choice to join that business and be a part of the family legacy and all of that. And yet you chose something very, very different, right? And I did ask you this question, why, why go through all the trouble of trying to set up something of your own when something is already ready for you? Why don't you take it? I want to ask you this question again. What drives you? What makes you want to chart a path of your own? Um, and what is it that you're trying to create for yourself? And why?
Um, this Neha, who is this hyper independent person who would do it out of aggression. मुझे करना है क्योंकि मुझे खुद का चाहिए. I want to do it because my name should be there. I did it. No one gave it to me. However, it's not like that anymore. That's not the reason. I'm not hyper independent anymore. I don't see things like that anymore. And because you're asking me this, I'm getting a little emotional thinking how things have changed for me. It's still the same. I want things of my own. I do want my own path. I don't want to,
You want something which is Neha's,
which is mine.
not the family.
Correct. Correct. Which took birth out of me.
Mm.
And I don't just say it in a way of um, something which is of Neha's, because I don't think I've come to this point in the world. I don't know how many people would agree, but I've come to this point that nothing truly is yours.
Don't be too philosophical.
It
You're
is
too
true.
young for that.
It's true. It is true. What if I'm gone tomorrow? Like it's not truly mine. And the whole purpose of me doing something like this is the fact that uh, I do something which is of a higher purpose, and
Mm.
many other people can take advantage of it and be a part of it and get value out of it and then take it forward. Whole different story.
What would it take for you to very proudly say, I choose this path because I want to make my name?
What would it? What was the question?
I chose this path because I want to make my own name. What would it take for you to just be proud about saying it?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I would love that name behind my creation or next to my creation. That's why my company is called Nova. It's come out of my name, and A being the initials of my name, Neha Aswani, and OV is the meaning of, it comes out of love, which is the meaning of my name.
Oh, yeah.
So truly mine, truly mine. But a different perspective is what I'm trying to add, and I feel like that helps me. You're calling it philosophical, and yes, which is true, but it works out for me in the sense of it is a great way of having detachment with your creation, because that doesn't become your everything. I am a very fluid, flowy person. Tomorrow I might be trying my hands on something else with this name or anything like that. I'm a very fluid person, and uh, I like giving myself the space of changing when it's needed. I used to be very rigid before. Now I allow things to come to me, and anything can happen, quite literally. I started with this work, helping businesses like you grow online. To a point where I met this person yesterday who teaches Vedanta, and he wants me to take care of his US tours
Wow.
and handle retreats over there. I don't know where that came from.
Beautiful.
I don't know why I thought I would be the person for it. Something must have happened, some conversation, a friend must have told him, I don't know. But that happened, and when I was sitting in his office in Mumbai, I was thinking, what am I doing? He wants me to do this? That's crazy. That's crazy. So, definitely, my name, I have no, I'm not going to shy away from doing that. When it comes to the family aspect, of course, there are few personal reasons and few, I want it to be of my own. I want that feeling. This came out of me. I gave birth to this. I love, love, love hiring people. I love paying salaries. I love creating something that people enjoy. That's mine. That's mine. So I don't know if I'm answering your question,
Absolutely, absolutely. And it gives me so much of pride to meet a young entrepreneur. You breathe, eat, and drink entrepreneurship. by the way of just saying that I love to pay salaries.
Yeah.
I'm happy hiring people.
Yeah.
This is what a true entrepreneur is. And you are doing this for almost 4 years now, 5 years,
Yeah.
4 to 5 years.
Yeah.
You've also studied entrepreneurial management in Boston very recently.
Yeah.
And because I'm an entrepreneur myself, I know that the journey of an entrepreneur is not always
Right.
rosy. Um, what have been your learnings in your journey as an entrepreneur? What were the highs and what were the learnings that you have taken so far from this journey?
So glad you asked me that question, because this is for every person who's looking to be an entrepreneur. There is this notion behind um, entrepreneurs don't ever sleep.
Mm,
They always hustle. There is no day or night for them. They're constantly working. True, sure, they're working out of love. I get that. But honestly, Dhira, I finished my course in Boston just a month ago, and I realized I thought that my expectation was that this year is gonna make me this hardcore person who's
mm,
gonna be at it.
mm.
That this is what entrepreneurship is, and this is who I'm going to be. No one's ever gonna find me in my calendar free or anything
Yeah.
like that. But it wasn't like that. In fact, I've become a more softer version of an entrepreneur. I got in touch with my feminine side, how it's different for a feminine energy to be an entrepreneur and a masculine energy to be an entrepreneur. And I said
Mm.
energy because there are multiple genders. That's why I chose
Yeah.
that word. And you can stay in touch with that softer side while building something huge,
Yeah.
huge that you can't even imagine. $1 billion, million, whatever you want. And I've seen it happen for people. I've seen it happen. I've seen and witnessed entrepreneurs like that,
Mm.
relaxed entrepreneurs
Yeah.
who know what they're doing
Yeah.
with relaxed employees, not because people are working
Yeah.
they're soft for them, not because of that. They want to build in that sense. They want to build something like that. I see you as well in that way, that it's possible to have running 3 businesses.
Yeah.
I don't see you running. I don't see you consuming cups of coffee a day and like
I've had my journey too. We will talk about that
Sure.
some other day.
I'm sure. But you see,
Yeah.
this is what I'm saying. This is the future. This is the present and the future.
Absolutely.
To look at it in that direction, to look at ways to build something which is higher and beyond as well. And I get that people would work
Yeah.
that way before.
Absolutely.
Like my father also says, you've no idea how hard we've worked. And I say that I do have an idea how hard you've worked. But however, I'm saying that we don't have to.
Yeah.
We don't have
You
to
know,
do that.
you don't have to hustle to be successful. You have to be happy to be successful.
Absolutely. So, to answer your question, this is what I learned over there as well. When you're relaxed, when you're with yourself, when you're in touch with your core, good ideas come out. Good ideas manifest. If they're meant to manifest, if you're genuinely creating something good. I'm not against hard working, but what are you working hard for, and how? Is it just to stress yourself, or is it actually to bring something good into the picture? And I'm saying it now because while we're talking, but I have my days where I'm just like, oh my god, nothing is working. I really need to up my game. But then I know that's momentary and that's conditioning and that's limiting beliefs coming to me, and then you cut it off after a few hours, just like telling yourself, fine, it's just one day.
Yeah.
That is what I've learned. That I don't even want to be living like that, with that deck. And I so it's such a fun journey to teach my parents that.
Yeah.
Believe me, to tell them that this is how it's going to
I'm
be.
going to
Like,
come to that next.
Yeah.
You remember when we started working together for Swayam, you and your team had started creating content for the post and for everything. And you started jumping in for a few book reading sessions. You heard some things that we were talking about.
Yeah.
And, while you were on that path already, because you were an NLP practitioner,
Right.
I think something about what we were reading and learning about learning thyself. I think that made you a bit curious, and you and I started talking about, how the love for self can also initiate some more positive changes in your life. You were already on the path of understanding what gratitude is, etc. However, like you just said, the past conditioning, the limiting beliefs, that I mean, I have been on this path for almost 7, 8 years. Am I totally empty of my limiting beliefs? No, it's an ongoing journey. And so there was this point in your journey when you decided that I want to see what my next version of Neha can be. And you and I started talking, and we discovered and uncovered a lot of layers from your personal as well as your surrounding life, etc. And I have really seen you blossoming, coming on of your own. Where you were working with a lot of restraints around you, how you have very beautifully broken free from all of that. And today I see you living with so much of freedom, so much of independence, so much of knowing who you are and what you want to do. If you can talk a little bit about what that journey meant for you, what was it before you identified the girl in the mirror, and what she was, working against, and then you decided that it is going to be working for me and not against me. What was it for you?
Well, this meant the world to me, to be connecting with the self and knowing that that truly is what freedom means. I'm actually going to answer this with an example or a little story that I want to tell you. When I was in school, this is I think the 10th grade or the 11th grade, I'm not so sure, but I used to have this junior and I would have a conversation. I remember having a conversation with her. More than that, she remembers having this conversation with me. And I told her that this is me, this young me who's saying, I'm sure I'm going to get married. My parents are going to marry me off when I'll be in my 20s. So I don't know how much time I have left to be doing what I really want to do. And I've accepted this life. And I am I have recently reflected on it because she sent me a voice recording saying, because she saw a couple of my stories on my Instagram, saying that, dude, you said that to me. Can you believe it? And look at you now.
Look at you.
And I was like, oh my goodness. Like, where did that come from? Why did I tell that to her? Why did I think that's going to be my life? You know what I mean? When it comes to freedom, yes, there are my environment at home or even outside. There were conversations and what do you call already existing limiting beliefs that are put up on you saying that this is how your life is going to be like. However, I feel it is a personal choice to take and what not to take. I accept everything that life has given me from my birth. What I don't accept is the choices that other people are making for me in
For
their
you.
head.
Yeah.
Because that's my call. And whether to choose their choice for me is also my choice. Am I making sense? It is my choice. You do what you want. Like, I'm sure my family or even like every mother, my mother, or like every father, my father, they did have opinions on, okay, this is how her life should be. But when they saw it's not like she's on her own path, because I chose a path for me, that freedom came from within, there's only little that other people can do. And I'm sure everyone's situation is different, and I speak for myself, but I still believe that when you make choices for you with complete faith in yourself and someone above that you believe in, my language I would say universe, for you it's God, it's a particular God, whoever that you believe in, faith in yourself, your higher self, and that creator above. And I don't think anyone else can anyway do anything for you, make any choice for you. To stick to that is a choice. And I'm just saying that I did not want to stick to any other choices made for me, because I already was dreaming high. I was already dreaming something beyond for myself. And I don't just mean in the way of money or my business or anything, but for me, who Neha is going to be like.
How is it to have these conversations with your parents?
Oh, fun. Fun. Okay, maybe not always fun, but I don't know what and how, Dhira, but what happened and how, but they understand. They do. Maybe not always, maybe not in the moment, maybe 2 days later, but they do understand what I'm trying to say. Because I put myself that way.
Yeah.
I they see me doing my thing from morning to evening. They see my routine, they see my belief system, they see when I have conversations, they'll be seeing this podcast. uh, and they've accepted this Neha in a very natural way because I accepted myself.
Yeah.
And that's how I see it.
Yeah.
I remember thinking that there are few things that I will never get permission for as a child, which every child does. That I don't have permission to stay after 9, for example. And no one ever said that to me. It was my choice to do that because I thought that they want
They
that
want,
out of me.
yeah.
So, and I'm sure they did. I'm 100% sure they did. But again, like, it was my choice to be thinking, acting, and pre-deciding for myself. And I was like, I can't be doing that for big things in my life. Like, I'm sure they want me married at a certain age. Like every parent does, because they think it's their responsibility to do that as a parent, to make sure that their children find the right partners. Fair. But I also feel that it's still on you to show them that you're taken care of by yourself. And parents learn with you, I feel.
Yeah.
Not completely, but they do. But they do learn with you, and I feel like they are learning with me.
Yeah.
And on the days they're not, I'm okay with that. I'm okay
That is so important.
with the fact that they're not understanding, because there are times when I don't understand them.
Yeah.
Goes both ways.
That's beautiful. I think that this is a part of self-transformation that sometimes we neglect. That just because I am learning new ways of living life or discovering myself, everybody else should move along with me. But why? It's not important. People are free and people are allowed to stay by their beliefs as long as they want, till they have their own realization. So very beautifully said. I think it's a beautiful play of give and take. Somewhere they look at you, they transition into being more like you.
Yeah.
And sometimes you see them where they are, where they have always been, and you allow them to be where they are.
Correct.
Right.
And I would just want to add, saying that I read something recently. You don't change a person by actually changing them. You show them the way that change is made. You be that change, and they learn by just your being. So I don't.
And this you have learned personally.
Yeah, through the books, through NLP, with you, with my journey as your coachee. This is what I've learned, that I don't have to hold someone, be like, change. This is not the right way. I wouldn't want to go and sit with my father for 3 hours and tell them this is wrong, change it. Or anyone, a friend even, or anyone like that. You do it for yourself. Then they see things are working out for you and they let you be.
Yeah. Also, how your equation with your mom has changed over these years. I remember when we had started talking, how your biggest concern used to be her, taking care of her, being her savior or being there for her. And over time, how very beautifully it has changed into a more beautiful and empowering dynamic. Do you feel comfortable talking about it?
I definitely want to answer the question, because this is for every daughter out there thinking that it's their duty to be saving their moms. It's their duty to be protecting them and becoming their parent's parent. It's very natural. I was interestingly, I was talking to my brother recently, and I was telling him that we somehow just turned into parents without even realizing it. It comes with age, and I get all that, but still, when it comes to the relationship with my mother, yes, it's changed big time, and I feel that's because I've let her be. I remember having this conversation with you, and it hit me. Hold on a minute. This is an adult I'm talking about. And yes, times have changed. And yes, maybe as a what do you call, children-parent relationship, we all learn from each other. We learn from our parents learn from us. Whole different story. But to look at it this way, that you live a life that you think is the best for you, and let that be an example for your mom, that this is also a way of living, instead of going and telling her, making her sit and giving her unwanted therapy and trying to save her, trying to be a savior of a person who doesn't need any saving, because they don't need any saving.
Or
I've
they don't
realized.
want any saving.
They don't want it. Maybe they just don't want it, and you're just putting your head against the wall. They're perfectly fine what they're doing. And of course, when they need you, they'll walk up to you. Be there. I'm not saying don't be available. I am there. I am there every step of the way that she wants me to be. My door is open for her. Any conversation, every night, I would try my best to be asking her how her day was like. And that, I think, is my way of showing love.
Yeah.
But then, if there's any saving needed, that person knows that you're there. But मैं सामने से पकड़ के जाके I'll be like, no, change the way you're living because I think this is the best way to live. It's like how you treat a child, right? Like if you tell them मत कर वो जाके करेगा. Yeah, if you make them learn, even if with every fiber of your being you know that this is the best for them, you make them teach, you make them learn, and you start teaching them. The child is not going to learn. The child is going to rebel.
Yeah.
The child's going to be like, who are you to teach me? That's how they behave. I think of it the same way at with some situations of my life. That she's a beautiful adult woman. She knows what she's doing. I know what I'm doing. And we can help each other every step of the day. But no one needs any saving. And I was just going to say, and to just carry that burden on yourself, you're putting yourself down, thinking that someone else is also down, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. What did you have to change internally, Neha, to be able to come to this conclusion or this way of being that, I'm going to be me and I'm going to let my mom be or let my dad be? Like Louis always says, that our relationships are nothing but a mirror of the relationship that I have with myself. So obviously, when you came to this new dynamics with your mom, there would have been a lot of inner changes, inner conversation you would have made. What was that for you?
So many things, Dhira. So many things. I remember it always came up in our coaching sessions. I have also gone to the extent of having this conversation with my mom and being very open, at least trying to be open with her that, hey, this is what I'm thinking and I care. I care for you. You do what feels right. But from now, I'm going to try to not interfere in your business. And
so to say, I care, but I can't save you.
Can't.
So beautiful.
Like no one can save me. It's the same thing. I'll give you a small example. When I was in my teenage years, everyone would come and try giving me this advice: lose weight. It's not good for you. It's not healthy, Neha. Lose weight. I don't get irritated. I know that.
Yeah.
Stop coming and telling me that.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. I'm going and telling other people, or even my mom, or any other person who has a different opinion than me, change na. It's good for you. Change. They'll be like, in their heads, they're like, bro, I know. Don't teach me. But how did I change? When I got maybe inspired by someone, maybe I did my own journey, I went through all that, and then I was like, okay, this is the kind of body I want, this is where I am. It's the same thing. I don't like it. How am I expecting someone else to like it?
Absolutely.
It's a different format, but you see like where I'm going with it. And to answer the question that what did I do? God, it took me so much of effort to just shut my mouth and be in my room and tell myself again and again, you don't have to. Or to even physically move myself from that place. To be like, I don't want to be like here because I know my natural state or my empathetic state is to start talking and saving someone. It naturally in my conversations also advices have gone very low. I am more of a listening ear and I'm more of a wonderment person that like, have you wondered this XYZ? Not like, hey, you should do that. No one needs advices anymore. They know what they're doing. It's maybe you can inspire them by just your being.
Absolutely.
Giving you an example, I was traveling recently for work a lot here and there, and my mom said, I want to come with you. Like I would love that. Came from her and come from me. You know? And I like that.
Yeah.
I like that way of inspiring instead of throwing something on someone's face, and that takes a lot of energy. My goodness, to
Also,
write.
it's a much freer way of living.
Yeah.
You are in charge of your life. I am in charge of my life.
Yeah.
Let's just chill.
Yeah. And you out of everyone should know my journey out of that how has that happened to be able to sit and have this conversation with you, because for me it was like the world is on me. I have to save everyone.
Yeah.
Whoever is getting attached to me, मतलब मुझे उसके लिए कुछ करना है.
और उससे क्या होता है ना, because I was also this person. I've grown up without a dad, so saving myself, then saving everybody around me. That was the story of my life. What happens is, because we are so much focused around safety, about rescuing, we activate a very big masculine side of ours. And knowingly or unknowingly, our feminine side gets completely ignored. It goes into shadows, right? So for me, even today, it's an effort to bring out my feminine side, because the masculine is always by default. Over the years, I have tried to find a balance, to bring my feminine side every once in a while, or keep her active, and then decide when the masculine comes out, when feminine comes out, because you also talk so much about having that savior kind of a way of living, especially when it comes to your family, to your parents. Have you experienced these energies, and have you also experienced this shift between your masculine and feminine
God.
as you change?
So much. I'm so glad. It's my favorite topic, because I feel like recently I've gotten so much in touch with my feminine side, which by the way is my dominating side, and people wouldn't know that because the way I talk, the way I behave, the way I am, it's so masculine. I will take care of myself. I don't need any help. I'm okay. Or if I take help, who am I? Like, why I'm not able to take care of myself. But today I can safely say that I can take help. I am okay taking help. In fact, it takes so much courage to be taking help. Now, about the whole masculine feminine thing, you couldn't have said it better. It was my masculine side trying to protect, especially the women in my life. My mom, maybe my brother's wife, maybe my friends. Like, I feel more and more protected for them because I know what they're sort of feeling like. I know I have that connection that way. Like, I can almost sense and feel the pain or any kind of feeling that they're going through. But to be in touch with my feminine side to me means that being relaxed, letting things come to you, knowing the fact that there's a purpose that our feminine side serves, and there's a purpose that our masculine side serves. And I feel like today, where we are in the world, where we are going, everything that we're trying to do, we've come so far with tech, with AI, with so much. Every person, every little being on this earth, male, female, whoever, whichever gender that you call yourselves, really needs to be in touch with their feminine side. That's the need of the hour. And I feel the world's going to be more softer, nicer, and calmer if everyone tries to do that. With that, I mean being comfortable with taking help. Picking up the phone and calling a friend, hey, I need that, could you bring it in? Being comfortable with doing that. Being comfortable with letting things come to you. Relaxed way of working. It goes back to me talking about having softer side in entrepreneurship as well. Being relaxed while working. I think
To me, it meant a lot. Shift a shift in thinking for me was, rather than pushing myself to do something, I have started nurturing myself. And I think for me that speaks feminine to me. Like you rightly said, also taking help and being able to put your head on somebody's shoulders and just say, I'm tired, can you take it over from me? So giving yourself that rest, that love, that nourishment of not just food but also of emotions. How beautifully said that it is not gender specific. I think all of us, men or women, eventually we'll come to this balance, that just masculine is not enough and just feminine is also not enough.
Right.
Having that beautiful balance between the
Yeah.
two
Yeah.
is where the game is.
I just want to, like, everyone watching it, I just want to nudge people that when you're going about your day, when you're working hard, when you're in the office doing your thing that you're really good at, you're at it, your masculine energy is active. If at the end of the day you can find something to calm yourself down,
Yeah.
can be anything. If you want to make a meal for yourself, want to try that, want to try stitching or something, want to try writing about something. So anything that is calmer and softer might not make sense in that moment, but if you can, you can really see wonders happening. Because I'm doing it for myself, and I know how I'm feeling lately.
Beautiful.
Getting ready just for the heck of it, or not getting ready because maybe like people are expecting me to get ready, but not getting ready. Anything, like I'm doing how I please in that moment, because I feel so many years of my life, my masculine energy was on the high, and now I'm covering it up by being the feminine that I'm supposed to be.
Beautiful. Cheers to the feminine.
Yeah.
We are almost towards the end of the podcast, and in this podcast would be hugely incomplete if we don't talk about your brainchild. This beautiful business idea that you've come back with. And I know you've got accolades at your university for this idea that you have. Also, a cause which is very close to my heart. I have known about this idea, and I know that very soon I'm going to see you on Forbes, 30 under 30 kind of a,
Oh my
cover
God,
page.
yes.
But if you're okay to talk about what Nova is, what are you aiming to achieve, and how beautiful purpose you have come back with, I would love for our listeners to hear about it.
I would love to end it with that.
Yeah.
And also because I would love for more and more people to know this. Because if anybody wants to join me
Yeah.
on this path and feels connected, I would love that. It's called Nova. What we are doing is that at the moment I'm connecting with schools and professionals like you and coming up with a curriculum that can connect both of them, because I feel that our schools in India are not at their best to be providing mental health and wellness support that kids need. Because of any issue, any reasons, they're focused on their academics. The world is changing, there's so much technology coming, everyone's trying to catch up. But along with AI, I want to bring something that the kids can also get a chance to learn about EI, their emotional intelligence. They can get in touch with themselves. We as children are never taught the meaning of emotions, what is love, what is hurt, what it means to be feeling that, what needs to be done after you're feeling that. And I'm trying to build something that can help not just the kids but the parents.
Beautiful.
New parents especially, who are learning the best ways to have a relationship with their kids, and even teachers that way. Currently the process is interviewing multiple schools and getting to know their requirement, their bandwidth, their openness to this. And I'm connecting with professionals like you who can help bring this to life.
Lovely.
Give their professional advice, give their mind and heart to this, and give me opinions. And while we're helping them grow with our marketing services as
And
well.
this is going to be offline initiative, or would it be online? Is it an app? Is it hybrid?
It's
How
hybrid.
are you envisioning
It's
it?
hybrid. It's hybrid. Thank you for mentioning that. It's going to be hybrid. We're starting with a pilot program which is going to be physical in person, which means that we'll actually be going in schools and having a 2-day
Lovely.
session, one with the kids and one with the parents. Eventually, with time, we want to collect enough data feedback to bring this into technology, like turn it into a tech-based platform, and then it'll move hybrid, because I just don't want it to be behind screens. That human touch is required.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for doing what you're doing. I remember in a lot of our book reading circles, we have spoken about the importance of, bringing this discussion around emotions early on in life, and how schools can do better with introducing some classes on meditation, maybe some classes on emotional intelligence, like you
Yes.
said. So I know that what you're thinking is a very impactful purpose that you've come with. And all my wishes, like I said, I am manifesting seeing you on Forbes very, very soon, and I know it is going to happen. Knowing the force that you are, I know you will make it happen. Thank you so much
Thank
for doing what you
you.
did
Thank you.
today. It's been lovely to talk to you, Neha.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you everyone's watching. And just I'm grateful.
Would you like to end it with something? Like, would you like to give a message to young entrepreneurs, or message to maybe future entrepreneurs who are in a family setup? More importantly, where they feel they don't have the power to step out, or they have to be a part of the family business because that is the right thing to do. If they listen to you today, what is it that you want them to take away?
I just want to say that it's it's normal to feel small in a room full of people. And I know that feeling. I know the feeling of feeling small. When there are ideas, when there are people talking big, but to never ever forget that there's a reason you're on this earth, that someone chose for you to be here. And I just don't mean parents, like someone above chose for you to be here, your soul to be here. You're here to serve a purpose. So just do it for that. Just do it for that purpose, because that's the whole point.
It's
I think
absolutely worth it.
that's the whole point. So it's not to prove to anyone else. It's not for anyone else. It is for you, and what you're here to do, and what you leave behind after you're gone. What it does to this planet after you're gone. So it's all for that.
Absolutely.
So don't shy away from doing that. I know it's difficult, but please, we have to serve our purpose.
And that we all have that power
Yeah,
to
we
be
all
able to
do.
do this for ourselves.
Yeah. We took birth with that power. We already have it within us. So there's nothing stopping us but ourselves. So when we get out of our own way, we're good. We're good.